You guys know what you're doing?
No, we don't. We have no clue. We don't have a fucking idea what we're doing over here.
Hey!
Hey, language. Don't say idea.
Yeah, so welcome back to another episode of the Unframe of Mind show, where we have uncomfortable conversations without a condom. Apparently, our camera has a lag in it again.
Yay.
That I thought was fixed and apparently is not fixed. So, sorry, y'all going to have to deal with that. It just is what it is. So, tonight on the Unframe of Mind show, I am glad y'all are back. So basically, I was introduced to our guest tonight, Gerald's work, while I was doing research for a phobisimist segment, trying to determine why chess was offensive. And that's when I stumbled across one of his videos explaining in great detail, like a Jedi-level Phobeismist, why it was actually offensive. So hang out with us tonight for our discussion with our WOKEST guest yet, Melbourne-based Gerald Pauschmann, re-vamper of the popular and wildly offensive game chess, and the host of Waffles and Whiskey and The Point TV.
You're listening to the Unframe of Mind show, the place to have the most mind-stretching, unprotected, intellectual intercourse of your life. Your hosts battle the forces of evil by lobbing fiery balls of truth, reason, and evidence over safe room walls.
Are we lagging?
Wow.
Yes. Yeah, we got a lag on our camera.
We got a lag.
I just said it. I
thought I wasn't listening because I was trying to, make sure everything was right in the title of the show.
I thought it was fixed. I thought it was fixed.
Apparently
it's not. I don't know what the heck I'm doing wrong, but it is what it is. Y'all just have to deal with it. However, I do believe our guest, oddly enough, will be in real time.
But not us.
That's going to be awkward and weird. Yeah. Anyway, so it's been what, a week since we just released. I've lost track of so much time. What's been going on? We've launched 2 videos in the last week.
We've done reaction videos. We've had a guest on not last week. Live show, music video reactions. Mm-hmm. We just did a skit, which is doing quite well on the social platforms. Although it was deleted or it was removed off of Facebook on my end.
Ain't that something?
Did you really just do that?
No.
Okay. And then
listening to you, man.
Okay. You kind of had that tilt like you were about to share a scent. Okay, I was just making sure.
That to you, buddy.
Oh yeah, you would.
I would. I actually would.
But no, I mean, it's been a busy week, so we need to get back to doing another skit.
I know. I've missed those so much.
So many people loved the last one we did. We've gotten such a positive response, and just making fun of the old cancel culture, woke culture, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I mean, even though it's funny what we're doing, it needs to be taken seriously because this isn't good for our society just in general. So,
all right. So speaking of people who are rather woke, listen, y'all might be offended by this guy because I don't know, but we're going to introduce him anyway. So
I love his accent though.
I want to introduce Mr. Pauschmann, Gerald Pauschmann from The Point TV. And what's going on, man? How you doing? How's it going?
Mate, all pretty good. I've got to call you account to one thing. Did you say I was from Melbourne?
I didn't. Did I?
Did you?
Did I hear the word Melbourne? Did I hear the word Melbourne?
You may have.
Come on. That's that is the most wokest state in Australia.
Yeah, I apologize.
The biggest bunch of snowflakes that you'll ever come across. So if you ever get the chance to come to our good country over here in Australia,
let me call attention. Let
me go down there.
Let me call attention to you now and explain why I may have put Melbourne. One, because when I was asking your time zone, you told me it's Melbourne time. 2, when I was reading the description of the show, I said this already. You said it was okay.
Did you actually think I was? Did you think I was listening to you?
I'm sorry. What?
Like, seriously, did you think I was actually listening to what you were saying?
I'm sorry. Is he still talking? We invite you from a day.
Very much for having me on.
Yeah, well, I mean, we invite you from a day in the future, from halfway across the world, just to berate you and put you down.
So, what is wokeness looking like for tomorrow?
Yeah. What does it look like?
Oh man,
there is.
We're definitely going to get into all that tonight. So
there
is
fun. Absolutely no telling. Let me see. I got my comments up here. We got some people hanging out. Hey, what's going on, guys? All right, so. Okay, we got a phone call. Oh, you want to take that?
That'll be fun for a live show.
And we're also live.
That's all fun. Yeah.
We're also live on the Patriot Punk Network right now. Thank you, Chase, for getting that set up for us as well. So we're going live on so many different streams right now. It's ridiculous. If only we had everything looking really good and in time, but that's all right. That's all right.
So if we do the robot, is that going to be real time then or no?
Yes, that would.
Okay.
That's actually how that's done. Believe it or not, yeah. That's exactly how that's done. So I want to go ahead and hop on into. First of all, I just want to let people give Greg a chance to explain to people who you are. What's going on, Greg? God dang it. Gerald,
take a deep breath.
Tell people about yourself, man. Would you help me out here, brother?
Oh, well, okay. I mean, what are you? This is always the toughest question in the world. Tell me a little bit about yourself, and
all right.
And I suppose if you were to put it into just a sentence, you mentioned I'm one of the wokest people that you'll ever come across. Well, we might have to have a discussion about that. Austrian father and German mother. And in fact, my father is Austrian Jew and my mother is Christian German. So if you try to work that out, this is the result that you get. You get
basically the racist person we've ever had on the show.
That's okay.
Well, I think it could be somewhere in between that, and I'm not too sure.
By default,
I'm born and bred in Sydney, Australia, and then moved to God's country up in Queensland. And if people want to know exactly where we are, if you have a look at the map of Australia, the most eastern point of Australia, where the sun gets up first in our beautiful land, is a place called Byron Bay, and I'm about 100 kilometres, or what's that? That's probably 60 miles north of that place there. So it's and it separates New South Wales from Queensland. So I'm in Queensland, and I even think the name Queensland has got to be changed. I mean, why is it called Queensland? Why can't it just be called land?
Just land.
Land.
Well, if it was Kingsland, there would be a problem. But since it's Queensland, it's actually farther on down the list of names to be offended by yet. So you got time. You got time. You got plenty of time. Probably 2 to 3 years, I'd say.
Maybe less than that.
2 to 3. Okay, maybe less than that.
The way things are going, a lot less than that.
Silly redhead from YouTube says, "I love listening to him talk." So,
do you? So I'll keep the talking up. I mean, it depends how much of the Australian accent you want. I mean, I could do the old Steve Irwin. You're like, look at this little beauty.
Yes,
I mean,
please do that.
This. Yeah, I mean, you know who I was referring to then, don't you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He's probably the only Australian most of us know.
Great friend, Steve Irwin.
Yeah, I think he's the only.
I had the great pleasure of meeting him one day. It was amazing.
No kidding.
Yeah, it was actually really amazing. I had to do some work. So he owns this a zoo up there called Australia Zoo, which is a bit of a conservation zoo. He runs it. He ran it, and it still is run with his wife Terry, and their 2 kids, Bindi, who you might know, who has been pretty active over there, and I had to do some coaching for some of the team on how to do some public speaking. Fancy me giving them coaching on public speaking. And I met Stephen, and as I walk in the door, he's got his car keys on, and he stands up, and he's just 100 miles an hour. "G'day, mate. How you all going? Oh, this is fantastic. Take a seat. This is going to be really amazing." And I'm thinking, he's putting this show on. But that's how he was. So what you saw on TV, I was actually expecting that he would just be normal, Aussie bloke. "G'day, mate. How you going?" But he was larger than life, and the energy in that man was something that I think can never be replicated. So kudos to him, and it's tip my hat to the great man, to the late great man.
Yeah, that's incredible.
They've actually got a show on Discovery, or Discovery Plus.
Yeah.
The Australian Zoo, which is of course, like you said, ran by his wife Terry and their 2 kids. Mm-hmm. So we've actually have been following that whole show that they've got going on over on Discovery Plus, and it's quite fascinating because it kind of shows the progress of the zoo since he's been gone. But yeah, it's just I've always wondered if he was the same person he was on TV, if he was like that in real life. And according from what you're telling us, he was, and that's pretty cool to know, and it's pretty neat. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So our equivalent, I think we have the Emmys. You have the Grammys or something. What's your big thing over there where actors get together and they just
you got me.
each other on the back?
I don't watch that crap. I don't know.
They call it Epstein Island, is what they call that.
Yeah, Epstein Island. Yeah. What's that called? That's what would be your Grammys or something. Well, we have something similar over here.
Yeah.
and everyone would be wearing the black tie. You know, the wives would be wearing their long gowns, and they'd be looking absolutely stunning. Steve Irwin would turn up in his khakis. He'd just turn up in his greens. He's got shorts. He's got his boots on, and he would just turn up and g'day, how you all going? So that's how he was in real life. He was a showman. I think first and foremost a great father and a great husband, but he was also a great showman. And the way that he always put on a show would be something that people were always glued to. I mean, the guy's a legend.
Yeah, he was the reasons why I loved watching, shows about animals and animal, just the different things that he would talk about, especially with crocodiles. And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't being as engaged with watching the shows that I see on Animal Planet and stuff like that. And it's just he made learning about animals so much fun, and there hasn't been anybody quite like him since. So he kind of set that tone and that precedence from there on out. And it's just that but the irony of it all is he went out doing the one thing he loved the most, and that was animal, cultivation. And it was interesting. It really was.
You know what killed him at the end, don't you? So he went diving and he followed a stingray.
Yeah, stingray.
And the barb of the stingray went into his chest. And look, I guess legend has it, or theory has it, that had they had just left the barb in, because the barb's, I think, it's like an arrow. So if you pull it out, you're going to just rip everything out. But had they have just left it in and pushed it all the way out through the other side, he might have had a fighting chance. But that's theory. I'm not too sure how true that is. But in my head, I'm kind of thinking, that sounds about right, because he was still alive when they brought him to the surface. And then complications happened after that. Wow. And that's about 120 years ago now. And still, when you drive up the I think it's about 30 years ago, 25 years ago, but still when you drive up the major highway here to go to Australia Zoo, they've got a road named after him called Steve Irwin Way, but all the photos are all of him. So it's, Australia Zoo with him with his hands wrapped around a crocodile. So even though he's been gone for so long, that's the iconic figure. So when we get tourists from overseas and from your great country that come over and have a look,
I would imagine,
and they want to have a look, he's the first person that you see there. Even though Bindi and Robert are quite famous, in their own little right, he still holds center stage there.
Yeah, and his kids look just like him, especially Robert is crazy.
So Chase Matheson from Facebook asks if you're okay with the cultural depiction of Australians in the Crocodile Dundee movies.
Oh, that's actually a lot of fun. I mean, the way that you got to see the way that Australia is that we don't have much. We have, if you think about the map of Australia being this, okay, that might be a good indication of what it is. So, map of Australia with my thumb is the tip of Queensland. The 97% of the population is all coastal. It's all just coastal. Everywhere on the eastern seaboard, the southern seaboard, and the western seaboard, and even up the north, most of the population is there. So when we get to hear anything that is, say, Crocodile Dundee, which is Paul Hogan, I think Paul Hogan was the big man there.
Yep.
Which was staged in a desert area. Even us as Australians go, well, we don't get a chance to go there. So we do look at that. But I guess when we see that, we just go, this sort of stuff here where we're doing this with the bull and everyone fights a kangaroo and a crocodile and there's kangaroos running in the street and, snakes galore and spiders everywhere. Yes, they're all there. Yes, but we're all alive, so it can't be that dangerous. I've had a few people even say to me, I'd love to visit your country, but you've got creatures over there that will kill you.
Oh, yeah.
We don't have a bear.
What is that big spider that's over there?
What part of the world doesn't have that?
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't there like
apparently we have 9 out of the 10 most venomous snakes.
Yep. And don't you guys have one of the biggest spiders in the world that are over there as well?
Yeah, I think we have. There's a couple. There's one that's called the Huntsman.
Yes,
which is,
that's it.
Which is fairly big, but not dangerous. It'll give you a fair bite,
right,
and may get you a bit sick, but it won't kill you. The smaller ones, the redback spider, which there's a great song out there. I don't know. I think it could be a Slim Dusty song, but the song title is "There's a redback on the toilet seat when I went there last night," and The redback is this tiny, tiny little spider that hides under the rim of the toilet, only in the bush, so not here in the city. And it has this red little back. When you look at it, you just go, that is danger. And man, if that was to bite you on the ass, you'll probably die on the toilet seat.
That's one hell of a way to go, isn't it?
Yeah, well, one way to go, isn't it? But the other one I think you're thinking of is what they call is a bird-eating spider.
Yes, that was the other one.
Is
Yeah, it's
like
huge.
the size of your hand.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Yeah, we've got some pretty dangerous creatures over here, but
I didn't think we were going to spend the first 10 minutes talking about animals. It's kind of cool.
Hey, that's all right. That's exactly why we have these free-form conversations. But I do want to get into our other segment here. We have a segment we love to do, Gerald, and I think I introduced you to it a little bit. It's called the Phobisimist. And in spirit of the chess video that you did, I wanted to invite you along with us to explain to folks why we should be offended by these certain few items that we've chosen for tonight. And are you game? Are you ready to take it on?
I see what you did there. Are you game? Using the word chess in there. That was very clever.
Yeah, I didn't even mean to do that pun. Dang it.
Yeah, you did.
I really didn't.
Pun,
Really?
I really didn't.
Am I game? As in, do you want to hunt me down?
Right.
That sort of game?
Yes.
See, we've got differences of languages here.
That's right.
You got to understand that the difference in language, like when you say something like, I tapped her on the fanny. Like you guys say that, I tapped her on the fanny.
No.
I spanked her on the ass.
Oh, spank her on the ass, but you've got that term that some of you.
It's more like smack that ass.
Smack that ass.
Smack that ass. But where's your fanny? Like if I was to say, where's your fanny? What's that?
Well, it's your butt.
It's your butt.
That's your butt. Yeah, but over here, your fanny is your front bump.
Your front bump.
Yeah. Your fanny. The fanny is the front part of the woman's body.
Wait, so is that why they call them fanny packs and you wear them on the front?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's why they call fanny packs.
Seriously.
Yeah.
That might
so
actually.
Be careful of the language that you're using. So when you say, "Are you game?" It sounds like you're going to hunt me down.
Well, see, when I'm saying "Are you game?" I'm talking about I'm trying to run game on you, man. I'm trying to pick you up. I'm trying to pick you up, like
Trying to get his number.
I see you over there drinking that whiskey and whatnot.
That's not whiskey. That's apple juice.
Apple juice.
Alrighty, so let's
grown kids juice.
Let's do it, guys. Let's do it.
Phobisimist.
All right, and today on the Phobisimist, I wanted to give Gerald a chance to explain to us why Barbie. We're gonna go with Barbie today.
Barbie.
And why Barbie is hugely offensive. Why is she a problem? Let's see if we can pop it up. Barbie. Well,
Barbie.
See,
I thought you said Harvey. Gosh, Barbie.
Yeah,
or throw a steak on the Barbie.
Yeah, see, I was that's why I picked Barbie, because I was thinking, shrimp on the Barbie, the classic American to pick. So I wanted.
But is Barbie offensive nowadays? I mean, if we were to say Barbie of 20 years ago, Barbie would be totally offensive to the people who will be watching this right now. I mean, she's cute, she's pretty, she's buxom, she's blonde, she's
thin.
White. She's what?
She's thin.
She's
really thin. Really thin.
So, and she's got everything a white privileged woman would want to, when they look at that, they would just go, there's privilege right in front of you. But
just oozing
I don't know about you guys where you are, but here I've seen ads here now in Australia that are showing Barbie as being so multicultural. Barbie is now Asian. She's of African American. She's Indochina. She's Muslim.
Well, to be fair, we do have a Section 8 Barbie. I mean, that's if you're not familiar with the term Section 8, basically it's a Barbie that's got a tattoo, a cigarette in her hand, and she's got a baby and she's pushing a stroller, and she's got like
very
some
progressive
short shorts on, and a white beater.
But here's the thing. See, Barbie has come a long way. I mean, we've actually seen a lot of advancement in the way we look at Barbie. We try to make it. It was always said that it was an unrealistic expectation of the way young girls should look. But they're forgetting one thing with Barbie now, is they don't have a realistic expectation of what a 62-year-old woman should look like. Barbie this year is 62 years old.
Wow.
And if I'm a 62-year-old lady who collects Barbies and I'm looking at these things, I'm going, this doesn't represent me at all. Like, I can't possibly.
Do they have a Barbie for the
like
senior age?
They do not. They do not. As far as I know, they don't.
And again, if you have a look at that Jane Fonda movie, like Jane Fonda in that Grace and whatever that is. those two women who separate from their gay husbands. Anyway, somebody will tell us.
You got me.
I don't recall that
Grace
movie.
Anyway, so if you have a look at Jane Fonda, I mean, she's a hot-looking woman for 70s. So, if you think if she was put into a Barbie, that would be like, that epitomizes, what a Barbie doll should look like.
Yeah, now they don't have an elderly Barbie yet, but I did find this picture of her and fucking Gerald. You can't see this one.
Thanks.
You can't see it, but on the screen here, I've got displayed an artist depiction of in the article, she was 50 at the time. It was an older article. So we need another depiction of her another 12 years in the future for it to be accurate. And for 62-year-old little girls to play with Barbie and feel comfortable and confident in the fact that they can actually achieve this look.
See, I'm just offended by the way that you say, little girls can play with Barbie. What's wrong with little boys playing with Barbies?
Well, I mean, 62-year-old little girls, that was just a weird vision in and of itself.
Well, that's what we have to break down the barriers.
That's
here.
true. That's true.
We've got to have cis women, cis men.
So
we've got to have
as a cis man who once played with Barbies, I never had good intentions with my Barbies. I'm just letting you know, straightforward. They were always doing something naughty. Okay, it doesn't matter.
About you Texans. Yeah, I've heard about you Texans. It's not good. It's not good what we hear about you Texans over here. But anyway, keep going. Your show.
Tennesseans, but
Tennesseans, yeah,
it's fine.
Oh, Tennesseans, even worse.
It's probably even worse. That's what I was saying. All right, so I've actually got 3. So I want to grab the. Let me grab the other one. I'm trying to do this and share your screen over here with my extra scenes. Yeah. So bear with me on that. The second thing that we wanted to, I wanted to get your take on this. Over in Australia, you guys are huge fans of this Vegemite. I always hear if you go to Australia, you got to try the Vegemite. And I would just wonder, there's got to be something wrong with it if everybody's so excited about it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, can you just keep talking? Let me grab a jar of Vegemite.
So,
okay.
See, now I'm actually worried.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm actually
Vegemite and whiskey is going to be a good mix.
Vegemite and whiskey. That sounds delicious.
He probably won't even come back.
So that's what I'm thinking. We probably just ran him off. He's like,
unless we're gonna 5 minutes later we hear the toilet flush.
Yeah, he's like, I can't possibly talk down or badly about our national peanut butter.
Hey, there he is.
See, look at this. I mean, you can get them in a jar, or you can get the Vegemite in just in a sealed pack like this. So, what's the problem with Vegemite? Why do you think Vegemite's so?
Well, personally, when I first saw it and I saw it smeared on a piece of toast, I'm like, that is, just based on the reviews of everybody like thinking it's nasty, it smells terrible. Excuse me. I'm thinking, if you're gonna be something that's that nasty and vile and disgusting, don't make it the color brown or don't make it black, because then people start getting this negative association with dark colors, and people of a slightly less than white tone of skin, they might start thinking Vegemite, black people, a little disgusting, gross. We just can't have that being even a possibility. So we need
What
to
is this? I don't even know what it is. What is it?
Oh, Anthony didn't even know what. He's never even heard of this Vegemite stuff.
Yeah.
You've never even heard of Vegemite. So
No.
Vegemite is just a yeast extract.
Oh.
And it does, I guess it's just salt. Really what it is, it's just salt. So some people think, it's like Marmite or peanut paste.
Right.
But
yeah,
how they spread it on their white bread.
Privileged bread.
So they spread this black goop on their white bread, but they spread it on like it's peanut paste. So they jab it on, they thick it on. And of course, when you go to bite into it, if you're not used to the taste, it's kind of, it really does set you back. But the way to eat this wonderful, wonderful Australian delicacy is that you spread it on as if like less than what you will put your butter or your margarine on your bread. It's just a wafer thin over the top. And then when you go to bite into it, you just go, wow, there is a really unique taste to that. And then, of course, you can get into it and you can then enjoy Vegemite the way it is. But I'm not only concerned about the color of Vegemite. I mean, why is it this color? I mean, it doesn't have to be this color. It's a yeast extract. Yeah. It's made of just goop and gunk. I'm sure that they just get it out of the, I think where they go is that they go to a brewery And after the brewery has finished with all of its sloth and its gunk and goop, and somebody's got to, mop it all up, they're going, what should we do with this? And of course, the poor people who are on $3.40 an hour used to eat this stuff for lunch. And that's where Vegemite came from. I mean, it's...
Can we get that here in the States or no?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think you can get it in the States. I mean, there are some people in
it.
the States. I've got some friends over there, who are Aussie friends who say, can you ship me over some Vegemite? And then they try it with their friends, and you're eating it wrong. That's the only thing.
Now I'm actually wondering if there's actually an open border policy for Vegemite, and maybe that's why we haven't seen as much, because I don't know, maybe if we start telling Vegemite they're not allowed in the country, they'll start coming over here in mass. You know what I'm saying? It's that reverse psychology thing, right?
But look at the color, eh? It's black and yellow. Huh? What's that telling you? Black on
Basically,
the inside,
that's
yellow on the outside.
So Asians and blacks. Okay, we got it.
Yeah, so it's giving you and red. So, red. So I don't know.
I'm with
Indians,
you. I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
Native Americans.
This whole thing here needs to be changed. But you heard about our latest export / then had to change the name because too many people felt it was racist. Are we allowed to say that word now?
Yeah.
I could say it like Mark Dyson. He says racist. I think that's what he does. So he doesn't get the algorithms kick in. But we had cheese. We had cheese here in Australia that was by a founder, Mr. Coon. So, and Coon here, I don't know what Coon means.
Coon is not a good term here. Coon is not a good term.
It's a raccoon.
Here. No, a coon is a black guy that's like basically going against their culture. I don't know if Gerald here knows.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
So, and but this was the guy's name. That's his last name. Samuel Coon, I think it was. So he came up with some great cheesemaker of the 1800s.
That makes a lot of sense.
And he's been powering through the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 2000s, millennium, and then in 2020 or 2016 there was some call about this is really offensive and we should get the name changed. And the argument was that's his last name, man. That's his last. Why should we change his last name?
That shouldn't even be an argument.
So, from YouTube, Lady Della says, "How do you eat my Vegemite? I'd rather eat liverwurst. Just my preference."
Liverwurst is the same thing. You think you're eating actually liver, but it's not.
I don't think I've ever had that either.
I haven't had that either.
Liverwurst isn't bad actually if you were to use that properly also. But the thing is with things like Vegemite and even peanut paste, or we call it peanut butter over here, or even jam. I think you call it jelly over there.
Yeah.
But even those those condiments that you have all should be on white bread. It's white bread's just the superior over here. In fact, we have a brand name bread here that's going to get pulled off the shelves because the brand name of the bread is called Superior White.
You better grab a couple of loaf of those before they pull them off the shelves.
It's got to go. All right, we got one last one that we're going to react to here as far as, being offended. We just I don't know. Have you ever know what incense is? Do you guys use incense?
Yeah, incense is that that wonderful smelling thing where you want to sit on a yoga mat and go zen and do all that. Is that the same incense that you have?
That is the same incense.
The one that shoos away the mosquitoes.
That one too.
Yeah. I think some people do. I think that. Yeah.
Those things give me headaches. I can't stand the smells of them. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I've got this one here. I really did some research on this, and I got a number of reasons why. Did you have any reasons that you want to start us off with, or you want me to just go ahead?
Well, the way I see incense is that the way that we get it is that we get it on a small stick, which is like sits on a pencil, and the incense maybe is wrapped around it like a little beehive around the top of the incense. So I would say, for one, well done to thin privilege.
Thin privilege.
Got to make that bitch big.
Maybe that's why they started making those little short, fat ones, little cones.
Yeah.
You ever seen?
Yeah,
them?
they did. They made them in little pyramid shaped cones. They did. Yeah. But enlighten me. I'm not too
Well,
sure why
okay,
incense.
so from my estimation, incense is incredibly exclusionary as it's only shared between members of the nuclear family, maybe between brothers and sisters, fathers and daughters, mothers and sons, you know?
Yep.
We need to ban incense, I think, because to use it results in birth defects and long-term genetic consequences. I mean, I know incense is most likely racist too because it's primarily depicted on television shows in the back hills of South, like Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, and Tennessee.
I thought it was always those like witch doctors and people from Jamaica.
No. Usually when you see incense, it's on TV. It's like in the South, like backwoods in the South.
A lot of your 7-Elevens that are owned by Indians, they have the incense burning in their stores.
Well, okay. Well, check this out. Okay, according to Leviticus 20:19 through 21 in the Bible, the use of incense shall leave you childless. I mean, that right there should be enough to tell you not to use it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is
Is that because there are too many now? Yeah. Don't quote me on this, but is it because maybe more of the gay community are using incense? I mean, when I say real blokes, when I'm looking at you two blokes there.
Thanks.
And myself as a bloke, and we wouldn't use incense. We don't have incense.
No.
But it seems to me it's the woke, maybe the gay pride that love to have that smelling salt going through their wonderful houses, and they go, "Oh, that smells so fantastic," and of course, that deters them from having children. That's the only thing I can see. But
I don't know if I really like the smell of incense. Just the way it smells.
It sounds like incest.
It does. Maybe that's it too.
You might be right. You might be right. I may have been talking about incest this whole time. Never mind. Incense is fine. Okay.
maybe it's not.
They're too close in a comparison.
Maybe it's incensed.
Incensed.
Yes. I meant incest the entire time. Play on words, guys. Sorry, I did that for my own gratification.
The whole culture around the world is just going batshit crazy. I don't know what happened. I said to you earlier on, you know, when you guys sneeze over there, Australia gets the flu.
Yeah.
Whatever happens in your country, you start some movement on over there. We just go as the poor cousins. We go, oh yeah, let's do it over here. Let's do it over here.
It sounds like a great idea.
You know, if the UK bring out Extinction Rebellion, well, we got to do the whole thing too, and we got to put ourselves on the road and have, you know, big 4-wheel drives roll over the top of us. If you start off the hashtag Me Too or the Black Lives Matter, we over here in Australia go, yeah, we must follow that lead too. We're just a bunch of weak, pathetic pussies over here. Seriously,
why?
Not us in Queensland.
Hey, us too. You know, we sat there and just. I know we're not supposed to say this on YouTube. Lost an election. Arguably through some nefarious means, and you know, for some reason, you know, half the country believes this. And what do? Oh, just wait till next election, then we'll get more.
Exactly.
Like you guys got more votes than literally any other president in U.S. history, except for Joseph Biden. And you think next time around you're gonna be okay? Yeah, definitely gonna happen that way.
I do kind of wonder though, with the things that are going on over here in America, and the way things that are kind of depicted over, you know, in Australia and other countries. Yeah. Why do Australians seem to model their behaviors or their movements based off what America does? Why are they so close in connection?
I don't know. Look, I think that's the we have our own culture over here. You know, our own culture is, it's very much about courage and mateship. It's about friendship. It's about she'll be right, mate. You know, tomorrow's another day. We never were a really woke country. I mean, we're only a couple of 100 years old, and the way that we are behaving right now is because we're such an open country. We have so many different cultures here, and we open up our borders. You know, contrary to popular belief, but we open up our borders here to anyone. So of any race, any creed, any color, we'll just say, come on over and, you know, enjoy this, you know, this wonderful country that, and we used to say that we're the lucky country. You know, I think Americans used to say the same thing, that you're the lucky country. We really were lucky because we're an island separated from everyone else. We can't be invaded, you know, easily. it takes a month of Sundays to get to Australia.
Right.
So to invade us is really, that's why we are lucky. We're secluded from all the politics that we're supposed to be. Yet what we'll do is it will have a sniff at see what America's doing, and then we'll go, yeah, maybe that's the sort of thing that we should do. Because there's some stuff that we do that is just wonderful. So we'll take on your technology, we take on your advances, we take on, the things that makes the world a better place, your finances. We'll do a lot of that. But then we'll also take in the weak parts of what you guys do.
Yeah.
Right.
And we kind of make it our own, but we're playing second fiddle. We're not real about it. We think we are, but we're not real about it.
So why do Australians seem to want to adapt to Western culture? I mean, what's so?
Because we don't have a culture.
Yeah, Australia is technically Western culture, isn't
it? We
it?
really don't have a culture. I mean, if you were to think of Ireland, you think of the green, and you think of Guinness, and you think of the four-leaf clover, and you think of the land of the green. You think of Scottish, and you think of kilts, and you think of America, and you think of see, I can't even think what.
Wow. See, we don't have a culture either, apparently.
No.
But
Well,
I mean, yeah, that is. I always do wonder, what kind of, when you think of America from outside of America, like what is that iconic thing that's you think of? But then again, like as we were talking before the show here, it's like there's so much diversity and so much difference between West Coast, East Coast, the Midwest, the United States.
Yeah.
Everything's so different between the Southern culture versus I grew up in South Dakota and Wichita, Kansas, and Indiana, and now I'm here in Tennessee, and it's like 4 completely different countries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
I came
how
from
different
Florida to Nashville, so it's like, coming from the projects to rural areas of Tennessee, it was just vastly different. So, yeah.
I think we're still trying to find our way. I think we're still trying to work out, what is the foundation of Australia. I mean, it was all about
crooks and
hardworking.
criminals.
Yeah, well, and when you think of it that way, if it wasn't for the great explorers who then said we need to find a penal colony outside of the UK or the British Isles, we need to find somewhere. If it wasn't for that, then we wouldn't have what we have here in Australia. But don't forget, I mean, it was the criminals, and it was the low class society that came from the UK over to Australia and settled in what is now known as the Sydney and Melbourne. But if you move to Adelaide is where they shipped all the higher class, middle class and higher class folk. So Adelaide has got a different culture, and Adelaide is more, if you have a look at the map of Australia, that is right down the centre of Australia, but right down the bottom. And that's South Australia, and that's where Adelaide is. And they've got a different language. They speak more of the proper Queen's English. Whereas you listen to my voice, my voice is real harsh. It's real Queensland. It's "G'day, mate. How you going?" So that "how you going" in Adelaide, you would be getting "how are you?"
Oh yeah. A lot of the softer.
totally
That's kind of how it
different-
is here in the United States. You get more of your country, kind of dialect in Nashville, but then you go down to Louisiana, you get that Cajun dialect, which a lot of people can't seem to understand. But
Boston is a whole nother.
Boston.
Oh, Boston. And
You
the
northerners.
other cars up there.
Yeah, right.
It's interesting because
We got oil over in Wichita. In Wichita, we got oil, and down here in Tennessee, we got Earl.
Earl.
Earl. And here it's oil. Oil. So it's interesting, if you were to say, what do Australians think of the US? First thing that comes to mind is that if we could punch through all the lamestream media and all the crap and the bullshit that they're trying to feed us,
Right.
I think what you would see is that you would see people that are similar to anywhere around any other culture. Is that you get up in the morning, you go to work, you come home, alcohol injection, go to bed. I think we get on with our day.
I get that.
think that would
I
be-
really do. Just talking with people on face to face from other countries all over the world, and that's something I've had the privilege of being able to do from doing the show for the last 5 years. It's just getting to talk to people, and it seems like just most people are, like you said, they're kind of the same. They just want to take care of their families. They pretty much just want to be left alone. But then you have people having to take part in the political process because the political process has such a huge impact on what happens in their lives that to not participate is unthinkable. Anyway,
Like they want us. I mean, over here they want us to believe. Like I went through my Twitter feed this morning.
Yeah.
And don't forget, when I say this morning, so 6 o'clock in the morning for me is probably mid-afternoon for you. The day before.
I think it's about 4.
Yeah, something like that. So I go through my Twitter feed, and the first 25 headings is Joe Biden's fall.
Oh my God, the memes
up.
that have rolled out with that have been fucking fantastic.
Some of them are incredible. But it's such a shame that I think rather than looking at the person for who the person is and just going, right, we've got an elderly gentleman here that is being mocked by the world. From our perspective, he's being mocked, but then you'll get the woke left who will turn around and go, "Oh no, there's absolutely." So he had a stumble, and yet when Trump walks down his stairs or he holds his glass with 2 hands, it's like the man should be put away in an asylum because he can't hold his glass, and I think there's such a great divide over in the States. You're either, from what I gather, this is just my perception. From what I gather in the States, you're either red or blue, and that's it. You just pick a side, and you may somewhere be in the middle, and you might be a bit of a centrist, but you're either red or blue. Here in Australia, it's very different. So our liberal is your red.
Conservative.
It's hard to understand. So
no, I had my friend Dia was explaining that to me. She's really involved in all that stuff, so she was kind of helping explain the different political parties over there.
But here we don't go Liberal and Labor. We don't. So there are 2 major parties. We don't go Liberal and Labor. What we tend to do is that we look at the bloke and we go, he's got a pot belly. That one there has got a speech impediment. That one there doesn't know how to string a sentence together. Flavour of the day. What I'll do is I'll go Greens, or I'll go One Nation, or I'll go the Independent Party. We're really not cut and dry. I mean, I don't know how many times I've gone from Liberal to Labor to Liberal to Labor to Liberal to Labor over my 60 years.
Yeah, well, I mean, the major difference is that you don't have 2 major political parties with such a strong stranglehold over the political process that you actually do feel like you have a choice in the matter. When you talk to people over here, they're like, well, okay, well, if I want to vote third party, it's basically just giving the win to the guy I can't stand. That's all they're doing. And as a result, they don't ever break out of the 2-party system. And I've even got a theory that the reason why all the elections here recently in the last 20 or 30 years are so close is because it kind of keeps that illusion that it's so close that you can't afford to not vote for the opposing side, Yeah. I mean, it's just a theory, of course, but it makes sense.
But is it the same? Is it the same over there or what it is over here? I mean, what we tend to do is that we don't vote the party in; we vote the party out.
Well, that's what people say they're doing. That's what they say they're doing. And matter of fact, right now, even though we had an election that was supposedly all completely fair and balanced, is, well, next time we're going to go ahead and vote those guys out. We'll vote them out. We'll get some new guys in, and we'll make sure it happens next time. It's like, well, come on, guys. It's
you mean they'll vote in the new guy, not us?
Or whatever. Yeah. It's the same pattern over and over and over again. People don't seem to get it. Now, if you may not know this about me, Gerald, but I'm an anarchist, and I don't participate. I don't vote. I don't play that game. My way of helping in the political process is to do things like this, to educate people about what the political process really is, about the violation of the non-aggression principle and things like that. And it's kind of where I'm at. And
I do believe the vote matters, so yes, I do vote. That's the difference between him and I. So
that's the only difference. Other than that, we're
and religious views. I believe in God. You don't.
You have the Constitution, and you've got the amendment.
Yeah.
So you've got the First Amendment and the Second Amendment. I heard something great the other day. I don't know who it was from, but your Second Amendment, which is the right to bear arms, is put in place in case the First Amendment didn't work.
Yeah.
The Second Amendment protects the First Amendment, is what it does.
That's right. It protects the First Amendment, but we don't have that over here. We've got constitutional rights. We've got the Australian Constitution. But it's nowhere as embedded as what your forefathers and your founders have put in place. No. And to think what your founders, the forefathers had actually thought, way, way, way down the line to protect idiots from doing anything, you know, you've got to say they were really smart in the way that they put those amendments together. But here in the Australian Constitution, it's nothing like yours. So we do have the, you know, freedom of speech, but our freedom of speech is just our human right. So although it's embedded into the Constitution, it means nothing for us. It's not really a big
Well,
thing.
ideally, that's what the Constitution was supposed to. It's not supposed to be for the. It's not designed for the state to give the state powers. Or it's not saying that the state grants us the right to freedom of speech, or the state grants us. It's saying, like what you're talking about, your First Amendment is this. It's a God-given right that there's nothing. You know, that's just a given. Like, it's a God-given right. The only reason for the Constitution is to tell the government what it can't do. Like it is protect those rights from the government, not necessarily saying that the government gives them to us. And I think a lot of people get that confused or backwards, and as a result, they feel like they can kind of
the government used to serve the people, not so much anymore, and that was the idea behind the Constitution, is that the government officials that were elected were supposed to serve, you know, the people. And over the years, that has kind of deteriorated. So now we finding ourselves in a situation where they're, you know, really trying to crack down on gun laws, and which I know you guys, your gun laws are way stricter, but you know, this is where we're kind of blessed in our sense, is that we're able to protect our homes and our families and loved ones with our firearm. We have a right to bear arms. So, you know, yes, our forefathers had set the example for many, many, you know, years on down the road. But the problem we're running into now is we have a society that wants to change the Constitution and change what our forefathers had put into place. And that is something that tends to scare a lot of Americans, because you know, this is what everything that we are was founded on. And you start to tamper with that kind of takes us down this slippery slope of not good things for this country. And we're starting to see that. So it's just, you know, it's one of the reasons why you see a lot of conservatives really just kind of can't get on with the, you know, the Democratic side, is because they're just too busy trying to be woke and progressive and all these other things that they're wanting to do, and they're actually wanting to change, the Constitution. And it's like, do you really want to do that? Do you really want to tamper with what our forefathers had set forth? And I don't know. They do. It's crazy.
They definitely do.
Yeah.
Now I'm kind of a free speech absolutist and a Second Amendment absolutist. Like, I'm saying, I'm the kind of guy that'll tell you, if you want to own a tank, by all means, own a tank. I don't care. You know, the crime happens when you take that tank and then turn around and actually kill somebody with it, or you cause some damage.
But that's where school shootings come into place.
Well, there's
and
an
actual restrictions for firearms.
Right. There's an actual victim in place.
Right.
And, you know, the idea that restricting firearm for school shootings and stuff like that and all is absurd on its face, but it's just when you start actually looking at what's actually causing some of these problems, everybody wants to blame the gun, or they want to blame the speech.
Well, because there's so many variables. They want to say that it's mental health, and, you know, where were the parents at? They weren't being responsible. Then you got gun owners that claim to be responsible, or, you know, telling people, well, it's not fair to us because we go through the safety courses and, you know, we keep our weapons locked up and we're careful with them. But then you have other, you know, gun owners that are a little bit more careless, and, you know, their kids have access to it. So it's just, you know, you do have the small few that seem to make it difficult for everybody else. And that's kind of where we're at with our gun laws. And you know, when you hear about school shootings or even mass shootings, and, you know, you can't prevent them all. I mean, they're going to happen at some point. That's the unfortunate thing of firearms, which I understand. But, you know, there's a lot of regulations that are put into place to make sure that they do a lot of background checks and so forth. But even then, you're not going to catch every single person. But the problem that we also have here, and I'm sure you're probably aware, is you have a lot of your major cities that are, you know, gun-free zones. Mm-hmm. I think the argument has always been that if you armed your citizens to protect themselves and their family, everybody's going to leave each other alone. Because you're not going to want to run into that battle with somebody who's 2 blocks down you don't agree with. They can pull their firearm, and, well, so can I.
Yep. That's
you know,
an armed society is a polite society.
Yes, very much so. So you have a lot of these places like Chicago that are gun free, and there's not a weekend that goes by where you don't read an article where they've had one of the worst shootings, you know, in the last couple of months, and so many people have died or been injured, and it's like, how much longer are they going to allow this to continue before it makes sense? and before it sets in, that gun laws actually can prevent a lot of what's going on.
So what do you?
I guess like anywhere in any country, you're going to have your pockets of of upheaval and unrest.
Yeah.
I don't know whether Chicago is your part of the world where there seems to be a lot more crime. We don't really have a state by state. We have a city by city where we can go, all right, there's a certain borough or there's a certain area within Australia that you can go, right, that is a high crime rate area. But our crimes are very different to yours. I mean, we don't, when you say we don't have any gun laws, our gun laws are zero. It's just you can't own a gun. You can, but the process of getting one is very different. It's not even about mental health. It's not about stability. It's not about your right. It's about what's your use.
So what was the Australian, or what was the government over there? What was the reasons for taking the right to bear arm away from you guys? Because I know at some point there was a time where you guys could own a firearm. What made them just take that completely out of the system?
If you ever get the chance, Google Martin Bryant. So Martin Bryant was at that stage, I think, look, I'm just going to quote it, I think maybe the ages of 17 to about 24 years of age, disconnected from life, really had no friends, was kind of like an introvert, yet being stood down a lot of the times at parties and couldn't get a girlfriend. So he was kind of isolated. But he had this theory that he could become world famous if he did something world famous. And the only thing that he thought that he could do was to go to a penal colony in Tasmania, in a place called Port Arthur, which is it's a tourist town. It's always been a tourist town. And there was a cafe in there called the Broad Arrow Cafe. And he took it upon himself to grab his armory of guns and rifles on his own as a lone man. And I want you to think about how effective this story is and whether it is effective in the way that you hear it. So it's one man, age maybe 17 to 24 years of age, skinny, weak, pathetic looking character. All right.
Hey, I resent that.
Yeah, so do I. But he doesn't harbor he doesn't look like the sort of person that you go, wow, Rambo. Oh, wow, that's Schwarzenegger out there. Oh my God, that's Bruce Willis. This guy was kind of the Sheldon of your what's that? The Big Bang Theory.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I guess.
Yeah.
Or Justin Bieber, whatever works.
Yeah, even worse, Justin Bieber. So he's probably about that height of Justin Bieber, but long hair, eyes kind of pointing inwards, looking at each other. So he decides that the only way that he can be famous or infamous was to get himself an armory of guns, walk into the Broad Arrow Cafe at Port Arthur in the penal colony, and then just start shooting up. And he shot he shot over 60 people, but killed 33 people.
Right. It's the biggest mass shooting the world had up to date.
The biggest world, mass shooting the world.
Is it still the largest?
I'm not too sure.
I think Vegas.
I think by a lone person. So this is one person. And so a lot of theories have been floating around like, can one person really do all that much damage? And because we don't have the gun laws that you did, so no one turns up to Port Arthur thinking, oh, well, I'm open carry or I'm concealed carry. We can take this boy out. It was everyone's scrambles. And the weak, pathetic piece of shit just started killing women, children, men, anyone under tables, while they were screaming for their lives, and just popped each one. So killed 33. So and the amount of times that he had to reload or, shift to another gun, there's a lot of conjecture and, conspiracy theories about did he do it on his own? I'm not too sure. So if you now think of that, that's 33 dead, the worst we'd ever seen. And it was the government at the stage, it was the Prime Minister, John Howard, who had then decided, okay, we can't rip the guns off gun owners. That's not going to work. So what we'll do is we'll have a buyback scheme.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're going to ask for this buyback scheme.
Did he call it a scheme at the time?
Say again?
Sorry to interrupt. Did he call it a scheme at the time, or is that what you're referring to it as?
What did I say?
Sorry, when you said a buyback scheme, when we say scheme, that kind of means it's something like underhanded and kind of dirty a little bit. Like,
No, it's actually called the buyback scheme.
okay,
Oh.
so it probably means something a little
So
different.
the policy was called the buyback scheme.
Oh, wow.
So what it was, I know what you mean by the word scheme. It's underhanded. But what
Yeah.
had happened was that so it's sort of like gave him 60 days.
Yeah.
Gave him 60 days or 90 days to hand in your guns to the police station, and then you will receive payment for your gun. And so there's this massive, if you ever have a look at any of the footage, there's this massive
I have. Yeah. just
armory
guns
of just
everywhere.
guns and rifles and crap just in front of police stations and in front of the government house. And, the buyback scheme has really worked, and people have now, but did that really stop people from handing it back? So if you were caught then with a gun, there'd be a prison time, there'd be prison sentences, there'd be fines, depending on where you lived. And then you would have to show cause as to why you had one. So the government of the day did that, and everyone fell hook, line, and sinker because it was very emotional at the time.
Yep, that's the
You've
time
got
to
to imagine.
Yep, that's the time
Very
to move
emotional. 33 people, bang, just
Yeah.
like that, in a matter of a couple of hours.
in. Yep.
4 hours.
That's the time to
33
move
done.
I think the Vegas shooting was bigger. if
Well,
I'm not
Ross
mistaken.
in the comments, he said Anders Breivik and Vegas.
Oh, Anders Breivik, yeah, he
were
Yeah.
larger.
on that island.
Yeah, he said those ones were larger, but yeah, that's. I mean, it is incredibly emotional, and a lot of people, like you said, just kind of fell for it and just
They
decided to
play
turn
off
in.
of that empathy a little bit and decide to take guns back. But I mean, what was the result if people wanted to keep their firearms, if they didn't want to do the whole gun buyback?
Well, I think like anywhere, it just goes into the black market. It just is. I've handed mine back, and somewhere under the bed, behind a cabinet, in a garage somewhere.
Yeah.
People kept their own, because there were some that would just go, I'm not handing back,
Yeah.
a weapon to protect myself. I'm not going to do that.
I guess that's what I have a hard time understanding is all the people that bought into this whole situation, whether it was emotionally or not. I would want something to protect my family. I would want something, that I knew I could sleep a little bit better at night, depending on what neighborhood, I lived in, or regardless, that I had something to some way protect me and my loved ones. And why people would give that up, I just don't understand that. I don't.
The attitude here is very different. You mention it over here.
Yeah.
Like if you mention it over here, and the question would be, if you were living in the States, would you arm yourself? Would you have a gun? My answer would be, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I want to have that opportunity to protect myself from government tyranny, or from a person who's going to do my family some harm? So my answer would be, yeah, you say that here in Australia, and they go, can you imagine how many people would be killing each other?
Yep.
And you go, your mindset's really warped. Like it's not like, oh, I've now got a gun there, I'm going to walk out and I'm going to start popping people off.
That's when you question that person, be like,
This is not GTA.
like seriously, you're telling, like, that person's telling you that if they had a gun, that they would be going out there shooting people, or that they have such little trust in their fellow man that they would be concerned that they are going to. And in either case, I have no interest in actually.
It.
Yeah, in either case, I have no interest in maintaining a relationship with you if that's the way your mindset works, because you have that little trust in me. Or you yourself would be out there shooting people, and the only thing stopping you is the fact that you're not allowed to have it.
So I would assume that if the gun laws are so strict there, that other sources of violence would start to rise. Now,
No, as a matter of fact, I was actually looking into this years ago, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but one of the things that I was reading about was that after that gun buyback, the levels of crime rates rose. Like there was actually a huge crime increase.
It was not with knives, wasn't it?
And well, it's not so much that it was some of that, but it was actually because if I'm a bad guy and I'm thinking, okay, well now all these people are unarmed, I'm gonna go break in their house, and I think home invasions and stuff went up. I think a number of other crimes went up.
Knives. I mean, so many things you could use. Tire iron.
Well, whatever they use, but is that accurate? What's from what you're?
It's pretty accurate, but it all went underground. So we got a series over here called the Underbelly series. It just shows, the underbelly of the crime world here, and they had no problems, having access to guns. Yeah. And of course, when you have a look at the way that the underworld operate, is that they don't need a license. I mean, they don't need a license to say, hey, I need a license to own myself a gun. They'll get one. They'll get one by any means that they can.
That's my argument against background checks. Like
exactly. If you want one, you'll have one, regardless of your mental state. If you want one, you'll find a way to get yourself one.
Right.
And I think that's the hard thing for a lot of people to understand is that, I've got to get myself a license, and then I've got to go for a check and a background check, and then I'll be able to. No, if you want one, hey, I can tell you a couple of places that you can go, and they'll organise it for you. It'll cost you, but they'll organise it for you.
Yeah, it'll cost you.
Yeah.
So
it'll cost you. Yeah, that's all.
Chase from the comments here, he says in England they have acid attacks. They banned knives, so now they moved to other means. The guns didn't work. Ross says
you're always going to find a way to hurt somebody.
If you want to,
if you really want to hurt somebody, you will find a way. And we saw that even here in the States. You didn't even have to have a gun. You could rent. There was a situation, I believe it was up in New York, where a gentleman had rented a U-Haul truck and plowed through people using that vehicle. And it's like,
well, that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing all over the world. And it was in France.
Yeah.
They did it here in Victoria not that long ago.
Yep.
They're just plowing into people. They're just going, you know what? I reckon I can get, 60, 70 people injured, maybe a few dead by just plowing my truck into a.
That's sad.
So gun owners would argue, well, then are you going to ban, vehicles? Are you going to ban knives? So, I mean, there's so many avenues you can go with that argument, but it's just when it comes to guns, this is going to be the debate that'll never end, whether it's 10, 15, 20 years down the road from now. I just hope that at some point in an Australian's future that you guys do have the ability to arm yourselves and protect your family and friends. I don't
think it'll ever happen. I just don't think it'll ever happen. There won't be any government that will be brave enough to be able to say, we're going to now write in legislation that all Australians, after you get yourself a background check, will be able to protect themselves.
But I think that you guys could model. I think you guys could model something a little bit after the U.S. and maybe approach this a little differently and go about it maybe in a safer way if that's possible.
The people maybe might, but the governments are in the business of taking rights away little by little. They're not in the business of giving them back once they take them.
Yeah,
correct. Yeah.
But apparently our forefathers were in the business of giving us that right to protect ourselves from tyranny. So you never know. I mean, it could happen. We may not be around when it does. So
we had some other content we actually had planned on getting to today, and we decided to let the conversation flow the direction it went, and I feel like it was a rather productive one, if I do say so myself.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'd be glad to have you on in a later date if you would like. If you're interested in that.
Oh, happy to.
And
happy to come back and stir the pot with you.
Sounds good.
Oh, yeah.
Now there's the chess, the PC chess video I mentioned earlier. I was going to play a couple clips from that, but if you guys want to check out his channel, I think maybe we'll start off the Zoom call after the show with that video, or at least part of that video for you guys. So sorry, I didn't even mention this to you, Gerald, but we do a private group member only Zoom call after the show, and if you are willing and able to stick around for that for a little while, you're more than welcome to join us.
Normally I would jump at the opportunity, but I got a phone call to make in about half an hour's time, so I better prepare myself and sober up a little bit.
Well, that's
mate, next time
I'd be
book
smart.
me in for that.
Yep, totally understandable. So we'll start off that call with that. If you guys want to join with that, just hit up the Discord link or the Telegram link that's in the description below, and you guys can join us for that as well. So I'd like to thank you again for coming on tonight. And
thanks, brothers.
You want to tell people where they can find you and your work?
Oh, mate, if they just go into YouTube, for example, and first name, last name, Gerald Pauschmann, or if they type in the Point TV, or if they just type in the word in YouTube, snowflakes, that might give it away.
Well, I do have your links in the description below, so if you guys want to check out,
just click on one of those.
YouTube and Twitter.
My Twitter handle.
Yep. All right. Well, listen, I again appreciate it.
Yeah, we enjoy having you on.
We'll go ahead and wrap up from there, and you all hang out for a minute.
We've got to get him back on soon.
Oh, good Lord. He's going to really just stick that right in his mouth and just swish it
Well, it's better than other places, so there you go.
Something about a grown-ass man sticking something long and cylindrical
and yellow.
In his mouth. Right.
Then this is how we're going to end the show. Nice.
That's exactly where I'm going to end it, right there. That's perfect. All right, y'all. You've been watching the Unframe of Mind show, where we have uncomfortable conversations without a condom. I've been your host, Daniel Wagner.
Anthony Trawick.
And we will